All right, everybody. Today we are going to be talking about the listing agreement. So if you have a client that you want to list a property, just go into car.org, go to new, new listing. And here I usually type in the address. So we're going to just do 123 ABC Street. It's a residential that we're going to be listing. And then if you want to put notes here, like it's a 3-bed, 2-bath, who the seller is, you can't put notes here, but I just leave that blank. So once we get in here, you go to all forms, and the listing agreement is right there on the very top since it's very commonly used. And let's open this up. So if you notice, this is very similar to the purchase agreement. You have the disclosure regarding the agency relationship. Only if it's with the leasehold interest, you just leave that blank right there. Put in your seller's name and of course the seller. And then your BRE number. So the broker's number, of course, is 018148868. And then you put your own number, whichever your BRE number is, and that's it. If there is two sellers, then you just put co-seller. Of course, their name, but I'm just putting co-seller here. Again, this is a new form talking about fair housing and discriminatory advisory. Just talking about we won't discriminate based on race, color, ancestry, etc. Just have to read over this. Not very important. Almost like common sense, but again, we just have to include this because it is required now. And just make sure their names are correct here as well. Now, since it's a listing, we don't know who the buyer's brokerage firm is, so we leave this blank for now. Of course, once we find out, when we do the purchase agreement, it will include this form here as well. So disregard this. Now, very important, you put the address here. So 123 ABC Street. Of course, there is no ABC Street, so it's not going to pull it up, but whatever you input here, it should automatically populate and find the correct address. But the city, of course, oops. Apologize. There it goes. I just jumped around. The city is California 95035, which is the office. But wherever the address is for the property, put that in there. And again, it will populate to the actual listing agreement. So here's the important part. This is all the stuff that you have to fill out. Of course, today's date. And then this all done. We have to have a beginning date and a ending date. So whenever they sign the contract, let's just hopefully today's the day we're gonna sign the contract. Typically we want about 3 to 6 months. I always do 6 months. It gives us extra time because you know sometimes it takes just even a month just to get it prepared, staged, cleaned, moved out. So you have another month of marketing and then another month of closing. So 3 months is the typical time. But again, just give yourself 6 months just in case. I know some agents that do a whole year contract. I think that's way too long. But it's up to you. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We just do June first. All right. Again, make sure the street is correct. The city, and of course we have the county, which let's put Santa Clara County, wherever the county is of the property, and assessor parcel number. If you don't know where to get that at, just go onto Realist, and that's on your MLS listing, and just pull it up and get the APN number. If it's a mobile home, then you have to click this box. If you're not selling as a mobile home, then we don't have to worry about that. And then this is if you're selling it because of a probate or someone passed away and it's going to be sold through that, then you check that box. Other than that, you don't have to worry. List price, of course, you and your sellers will discuss already what price you guys want to list it at. Let's just say $1 million. Okay, it's easy to calculate stuff. List terms is basically anything else that you want to add on to here. Like if we sell it for full asking price, you could get a bonus. Or if you, have to lower your price and you want to lower your commissions, anything you want to add that includes in this listing term would be right here. Okay, another important aspect would be how much is the seller giving us as commission. Typically, it's a percentage, right? So we're going to always try for 6%. I mean, if it's going to be a close client or something like that, they're going to negotiate. They might do a 5. The minimum we would like to do is 4%. I don't really like going under 4%. And of course, it depends on the situation. If it's a really, really expensive house, like a $2-3 million house, yes, we can make some exceptions. But again, 4% is the minimum that we would want to do. Go for 5. 5 is, I would say, average, and that would be 2.5% to the buyers, 2.5% to the sellers. Okay. I mean, in certain cases, sometimes you would do a flat fee. Again, if it's like with a family or relative, you say, hey, I just want a $10 flat fee or whatnot. You can change a flat fee here, but again, preferably do a percentage. So if you want, you could have extension if the listing period ends. Typically, we just keep it at 6 months. If you want, just extend it longer in the very beginning, right? So don't worry about everything else. You wouldn't have to really fill out anything else. Here is if you want them to pay you additional, sometimes for like marketing and stuff like that, but usually we eat up that cost. That's part of, listing the property. And if it's different for other brokers, then you're going to have to put that right here. When we offer to the MLS, this is exactly what we have to put. So again, 2.5 is what we give to the other side. Again, if it's 6%, then we'll put 3 here. It's usually half. That's the customary. Of course, certain times, if you're going at that 4%, you don't want to do 2-2. 2% for buyer side is very, very low. So typically in those situations, we'll do 2.5 to the buyers and we'll take 1.5. And that'll be equal to the 4%. Okay. Now, here, we just say, hey, you're not being represented by anybody else. If they are represented by another broker as well, then we will have to put it here. Okay. They have no obligation to pay other than if they transfer the property or whatnot. If they transfer to these entities, meaning, hey, the seller wants to sell, but unless his brother or his uncle buys the property, then they don't owe us commission. This is what they would put it. Okay. This is another important part. Items to be included and excluded. So let's just say they have a very expensive fridge that they're going to take with them. Just put refrigerator here. Spelled it wrong. Let's go refrigerator. Refrigerator. No, just put fridge. Okay. Anyhow, items to include. So of course they want to include the washer and dryer and stove. Okay, whatever it is that they want to include. Now, if there's lease items, because a lot of properties now have solar, then you would have to check this box. If they don't have any lease items, just leave it blank. Very simple. Okay. Here is another part that you have to input. Typically, we would input everything on MLS listings, since that's where most of you guys are being part of. And now that they actually changed it where everything is listed at the same spot, even if we're listing in San Francisco or East Bay, we're actually still listed right here in MLS listings. And if this is not our primary MLS, if we're trying to list a property down in San Diego or in LA, if that's a listing that you got down there, then you would check this box. But other than that, most likely I would recommend you guys to refer it out if it's that far, because one, we don't know that area, we don't have the lockbox to it, and I don't think you guys want to go out there to do showings, etc., etc. So better to just refer it, get a 25-75% split. That's the norm, but of course it's negotiable. You can ask for 30-70, etc. Now, very important right here, this is if they do not want it listed on the MLS for whatever reasons. Typically, they're very private people. Celebrities do this a lot, where they don't want people knowing that their house is being sold. Then they will exclude it from MLS, and we would have to find a buyer within ourselves, okay, within the brokerage and our connections and etc. So now we have to follow the clear cooperation policy. And before we can market this property, we have to put it on the MLS, or at least the coming soon, before we can even talk about it. Okay, so make sure you follow these rules. So here, if they are instructed broker to not be in a public marking, then this is what we would put as a date. So don't worry about this. So this section, just leave as blank. And again, these are all just customary stuff. We're not going to change any of this. Here's if the sellers actually want to order some reports. So we can order the pest reports, the property inspection, and HOA documents. If they do have HOA, like if it's a condominium and townhouse, we have to order this up front. And the sellers do have to pay for this. Okay, this is usually the seller's cost. Typically, it's going to be like $150 to $200 to $300, depending on the HOA that they have. Photography, just let them know, we're going to put your house on the market. We're going to put your house on the internet. People's going to see it. If they do not want pictures, then they check this box. But I don't see anybody ever not wanting to put pictures of their home on the market. Because sadly, if you don't put any pictures, it's going to have a very tough time to sell. Let them know we are going to put a lockbox and key safe. That's how people come and see the property. If they do not want that, because some people are very private, again, they don't want sellers or the buyers agents and buyers to come in without unannounced. They want appointment only, and they will keep the key. Then you would check this box. But most of the times, it'll be easier to sell if you put a super box. If it's vacant, you don't have to worry. But especially if someone's living there, they sometimes do not want people showing up. All this again, don't worry about, do not fill any of this out, okay? And of course, if you have your information here, just put the seller's information. So I usually use their current address right now, 123 Main Street. Okay, just fill all this out. And then of course, mine's is already input already for you guys. Just make sure you input that. If there's more than one seller, sometimes there's more than two sellers. There could be 3, 4, 5 sellers. You would just check the additional signature addendum, and that's it. Last but not least is the seller advisory. It's just all information. Nothing you need to fill out except for the date here. So double check that. Double click it, and then the date comes up. And then make sure this information again is filled out, and you're all set. So this is just a listing agreement. Any questions? Just give me a call.